What up, everybody, and welcome to The Joystick Show, a podcast where every week 3 friends from high school in Hawaii get together to game online and chat about the latest news in pop culture from TV shows, movies, comics, and of course, games. So kick back and enjoy the latest episode on Andor, episodes 9 and 10, and the latest hot anime that we cover every week. Which I think brings us into Andor. Yeah. Drake, since you haven't been able to speak in a while, were you able to watch episode 9 and 10 of Andor?
Yes, I watched both episodes and
Both of them.
Mon
Bothma of them?
Yeah, Both Monma or Mon Mothma. This episode 9 and 10 kind of take place mostly in where they are incarcerated consistently, making all of their or whatever they're making for the Galactic Republic or the Empire.
Yeah.
And you're kind of getting to see the dynamic of what the Empire is doing to individuals and how people are kind of getting fed up. There's just these small little tinges in the armor where the Empire seems infallible, and yet all of these things that they're doing are slowly kind of shaving away the patience of the people that they're quote unquote ruling over. And you can kind of see the rebellion happen within each individual very slowly. Within episode 9, did we get to talk about that in the...
No, we only got up to 8. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So episode 9 was kind of you're viewing Andor in how he's kind of really thinking about, what are we going to do to get out of here? And on the outside, you're getting to see a little bit more about how the individuals of the Empire are reacting to the situations and thinking that they're making really good gains, or at least putting their resources towards making gains against this quote unquote rebellion. At the same point in time in episode 10, we learn a little bit more that maybe they're spinning their wheels a little bit, and that's what the rebellion wants. And then we get to see literal rebellion in episode 10 as it pertains to Andor's observations and his wordcraft, his speechcraft kind of help Kino move in a place to where, we're ready. We're ready to take that next step. And episode 9 and 10 really crescendo into a lot of different things, not only the spycraft that's been taking place, but the observation both internally and externally of how the Empire is affecting individuals. And you get to see the precipice of true rebellion, and not necessarily in just anarchy sense, but what it takes for a human being to just become fed up, right? That there is
what's
an edge.
The limit? Yeah, what's the limit that you can press up against before we're like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, and I think you're right.
They push so close to it, and you really get to kind of see that take place. I'm in very much favor episode 10. I would agree with you, Thomas and Scott, that episode 10 would be my favorite episode so far. There's just so much well acting and so much of the story that's come together in this 45-minute episode, where it really does it become, I think, the apex, the climax of what's taking place. Granted, there's probably much more to come, but in terms of what we've seen so far, it's made watching Andor worth it. It's given so much context to the Rebel Alliance. It's given so much context to what the Empire really meant to, this huge world that Star Wars is. And it's really brought home being able to pick a side, right? You're being given both perspectives. Granted, one is a little bit more obvious in choosing, but you really get all of the information, or a lot of the information, to really make a decision for yourself. And I think you don't really get to have that in a lot of shows so far.
That's true. I do feel like though, like it's a pretty clear decision in a way, though. It's like it's showing you how evil the Empire really is. Like they don't give a shit about anybody. They don't give a shit about people who are making them things, or if they keep you in jail for walking on the street, like, yeah, here's 9 years. Like I feel like, yeah, I guess there is a world you can choose for sure, but I feel like it in some ways a pretty clear choice. It's like, wow, the Empire is freaking evil, and all they want to do is just oppress people and make them feel like shit.
Yeah, in the sense of it being clear, in the sense of obviously you'd want to pick the rebellion, right? Because you know that oppression kind of obviously is the anti-humanity. At the same point in time, when you're looking at it from the perspective of the Empire, the idea of control or peace comes from their idea of control and having total control over everything. And
right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, in a way, you can make the argument that if one entity has complete control, i.e. like a communistic dictatorship or something like that, then yes, you could control anarchy in a way.
What are you, a fascist boy?
Yeah, fascist, Marxist all the way. And then, so you can kind of help. It only accentuates the fact that style of quote unquote peace does not work, especially because we are human beings who have thoughts and feelings, and we cannot be oppressed in the sense of what it will do to us. It's just not something that as human beings we can accept, and really takes out the humanity of being a human being in that sense. So that's what the overall the battle would be. And yes, they make it very clear that you want to be on one side or the other, but from the context of the Empire standpoint, it even puts even more emphasis on why the rebellion was important and why Star Wars in itself was so impactful. Yeah, like I feel like, and it also gives so much more like weight to the first movie that ever was made. Like, why would there need to be a rebellion? Well, because it fucking sucked. Like, they will control you, they'll kill you, they'll throw you in jail, they'll do all these things to you and you're just trying to live your life. And I think that's what I got from episode 9 the most, which was, all right, well, now we have Andor knew there was a reason he didn't like the Empire, and he knew all the bad things that they were doing, but he was just like, I don't have any reason to really put my life on the line for this fight. And I also don't have, like, why would I stick my neck out for you guys or do all these things? Like, they're just going to do whatever they want anyway. And now it's like, they've truly given him motivation to fight back. It's like, wait, I went as far to Space Miami as I could in the galaxy, and I still got busted for doing nothing. Yeah, for doing nothing. And you guys still threw me in jail for walking along the beach, and the Empire, you truly can't escape their rule. Like, and it's an unfair rule, as you can see by the jail system. Yeah, we're making these things. What are these things for? No idea. All right, well, you're going to keep making them. Well, I only have 1,200 shifts left in my sentence, and then I'm free. Well, turns out you don't, because if you're on level 4 and you're done with your shift, well, at the end of that, you're going to get put on level 2 and start all over again. And that's what that's what episode 9 gave to me, which is like, Andor knew he was already plotting and trying to figure out, like, is there a way I can get out of here? And dang it, I keep on going to level. Episode 9 gave him the true motivation and the power by Kino Loy, aka Andy Serkis, to actually say, like, no, we can do this. We can overthrow them. How many guards are each floor? And at the end of that episode, no more than 12. Oh my God. Like, it doesn't just hit Andor, it hits everybody in there. And who knows how long Kino Loy was in there, but he's like, what am I going to do? I'm just going to keep doing this every single day till I die? Or am I going to try to fight back and die? Because those are the only 2 options I got. And and I think that point gets driven home so much, especially after you see, what's his name? Lufa, that old man who has a stroke, and just, dude, he has a stroke. Like, it's such like an un-Star Wars death in a way, but it's so real. Yeah. Like, it was so like, oh my God, like they didn't even send a real doctor. They have other prisoners who are the doctors in this place because they're too cheap or don't want to spend the money to actually have a doctor for these prisoners. Like, like,
it's not a fair system. Maybe some of those people deserved it, sure, but a lot of them probably didn't, and they probably didn't deserve 9 years or infinity for walking along the beach if that was it. It's just man. Episode 9 just really Well, Scott, what was your take? Let's go to episode 9 and then let's really dive into episode 10 because I feel like it takes off right after episode 9. It's like it's a pretty solid continuation.
Right. Episode 9. Oh yeah, his name is Olaf.
Olaf,
the guy who had the.
They call him Lufa.
Oh, you fucking asshole, bro. Olaf. I almost called him Olaf. Olaf. Poor dude. To see him struggling through the episode. Again, the acting throughout this whole show is like amazing. I don't think there's any actor that's like, they could have got a better guy. Like in my opinion, But yeah, like that whole coming to the realization, especially like so they're doing the hand signals and they're like, something's going on level 2, something's going on. And then you got Kino like, dude, like nothing's going on. Like, do you guys want to die? Like, we have to just keep doing what we're doing. And then the whole turn when he finds out what the truth is, especially after that guy's like question, like, keep your men in line. He's like, dude, like what? Just tell me what the hell's going on. Like, what's going on? You don't like, it sounded like you don't talk to me like that normally. Like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
And then seeing that turn, like, what's cool too is like Andor. I know it's like he's had this thing about him where he's like, I just got to take care of myself. Even though he has that, he like, even if he doesn't want to, he ends up bringing like the best out in people. It seems like,
that's a good point.
Even when they try and turn on him and then he just pulls a fucking Han Solo and shoots him, but he still gets them through like the mission. He's able to inspire them. Like he was able to turn Kino and like talk to him in a way like no one's ever talked to him before. And like, granted, it was the right way, but like, I could have just as easily seen Andor being like, I'm going to figure out a way to get me out of here. Like, fuck this place. But he's like, no, we all got to get out of here. Even though clearly that's the better strategy. Like, it still felt like morally he was like, this is what we have to do. Like, fuck this place. Fuck everyone here. Like, we all going to get our lives back. And,
I mean, he's a survivor. Like, he always figures out a way to survive. And
he's not going to give up.
Yeah, exactly. He's Destiny's child. But like, and it turns out, like, as much of a loner as he wants to be, I guess you could make the comparison to a Han Solo, is like he's better off working as a team. And like, that's going to be the best way he can survive. And, whether it's his mission to be in a team, whether it's his tribe when he was a kid, or whether it's using the rest of the prisoners to escape, you're right. Like, he always ends up making the situation as best he can. And he finds a way to work with people, even if they don't want to work with him initially, it's like, and it makes sense why then when you get to Rogue One, he is such a leader. He's the captain of that unit, because damn, does he bring out the best in people, even if he doesn't want to work with them.
The idiom, if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go by yourself, like really rings true to this idea of rebellion. Like, because at the same point in time, right, he really thinks like all he needs is himself and he can be on his own. But every single episode, you slowly realize that being together is so much stronger. It's so much more. It's just better. Yeah.
No, I fully agree with you on that too. And something else I was thinking about is the other thing he's provided, and especially with Kino Loy, was he provided hope. Like he said, we can do, and like they said, rebellions are based on hope, or like started on hope. And he actually gave him hope. He's like, we can do it. Like, how many people are on the floor? There's hundreds of people per floor, and there's only 12 guards. You're telling me we can't take them down? And so I love that, by him being in these situations that he doesn't even want to be in, he's not only bringing out the best in other people, which in turn is bringing out the best in him. Like, it's like a really cool kind of metaphor. And then we get to see more of Mon Mothma in this episode, right? And we know she's rich. We know that she has some power being in the Senate. But one thing that, even with the wealth that she apparently has and the power she apparently has, she doesn't really have access to either one of them. Nobody respects her in the Senate. They start turning off the lights as soon as she's making her speech about the Gorians and how they're getting taken advantage of. And at the same time, she can't even access her family money, in the way she wants to, So thus then I forgot what the politician's name is that she grew up with, but he suggests bringing in, and she's like, that guy's a thug. It's like interesting to see also how her leadership came to be and what she had to do, because she really had to fight against everybody who were supposed to be her peers. And she really had to fight against what they were, saying or believing. Like they thought everybody who was opposing the Empire was criminals or was, deserved it because the Empire is there to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. And you get to see when you go back to where Andor is from, like, they're treating them like shit. They're taking over hotels when they don't want to. They took over, what was her name? Bixby, I want to say. She, I forgot what that actress, she was in Morbius, that actress. Yes, see if you put it up.
Check it out.
I mean, she's real attractive. Just for me, I'll just say that.
Which one? The nose? which one?
Bix Caleen, Adria Arjona.
Yeah, yeah. She's great. Like that torturing of her, was that in episode 9 where they make her listen to like all the cries of those children? My God. I was like, that just in the way they panned the camera on her eyes, and you could see that it was like such a horror moment. Like it was a shot right out of a horror movie, and it was done so well. And you could see how like I felt her torture in that brief
immediately
moment.
My mind went to Baby Shark do. That's
the edit we all need, let's be real. But yeah, no, definitely it was but like somebody brought up the point, I was reading somewhere online, like it was proven in one of the wars they actually would capture prisoners, and as a form of torture they would make them listen to the cries of children. And there's something innately in us to where it is kind of torturous. Like it's like water slowly dripping on your head in the same spot. Like eventually it'll make you lose your mind and you'll break.
Mm.
So
are we talking about like a baby infant, like crying just consistently? Like, wah,
yes,
wah.
Yes.
No,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think more so like, the kids are being tortured, not just they're uncomfortable.
I see.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I think there is something truthfully, like on the other side too, just a baby crying. I think it was used as a form of torture in one of the wars. So I'll look into it. And if I'm completely wrong, please tell me. But yeah. So anyways, that part was crazy. So you can see what they're doing to, everyday citizens and people who are at the lowest level of the totem pole as far as like the rebellion. She's not even considered a rebel yet, I wouldn't think. She was just trying to make a buck and help her friend. So yeah, it was crazy. What else? And then we're finally seeing that this was kind of Luthen's plan the whole time, to make and force the Empire into a position where they have to do gruesome and painful and terrible things to people so that they want to rebel. And I feel like we're seeing it here, where it's like, yeah, like we're slowly seeing every faction of people around the galaxy, whether you're rich, whether you're the lonely person, whether you're in jail. Like, I hate the Empire, and now you get why.
Yeah, we're also seeing the gray area in World War II, right? Like, even when you're on like the so-called good side, I think we get more in episode 10. Mm-hmm. It's like there's still like evil to be done, almost just to do the right thing. Like the end goal was right, but you need to do bad and like, or let bad things happen in order to, and like, that's like tough to watch and listen to as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if we want to go, because that's
we can jump into that later.
Yeah, because that's an exact, example of the monologue that Luthen gives at the end, which was so fucking good.
So good.
But let's dive more into the whole escape part of episode 10, because I thought it was so well done, and it just shows like how good the writing is and the acting is, because like obviously they're going to need to escape, right? And obviously it's going to be a challenging thing, but the amount of tension and worry that is built in those scenes, from him trying to bust open the pipe to, am I going to get the rest of these people on board when I try to do this? There was a time where even as it was going on, I'm like, is Kino Loy actually going to help here? Or is he just going to be like, nope, I have nothing to do with this. I just didn't know. Even watching, I'm like, fuck, he could just still be like, no, you guys are on your own.
So even when they were talking about like, I'm already dead, like their mindset going into it was just
right.
It brought such a deep, it brought such a deep sense of urgency.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like that Andor spun it into like, yeah, if we're already dead, then don't go down without a fight. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Because there was that dude who was like, well, fuck it. Like, I just want to die now then. He's like, dude, like, no. Like, we'll die together kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Which is great. And I like even the breakdown of the science. Like, they're like, oh, when they bring a prisoner in, notice, like, they can touch the rail. They're not wearing boots. Like, that's our way out. And like, they're slowly. So, like, as a viewer, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Versus there's a lot of other shows we can name that just kind of like lazily like, well, you'll buy it because this is what we're writing. But I like that they make it so you're like, yeah, that's logical.
Buy it.
You know?
Yeah. It was so well thought out. So well thought out. Where like it doesn't skip a beat on the logic of everything. Where it's like, yeah, I know I know it's, you know, a space fantasy opera, but at the same time, like that's something that gives Star Wars dimension and it gives it relatability. It's that there's these very human and realistic elements in it, but this is taking it a step further with the realistic elements in that you're like, oh, 100%. Like the guy died from a stroke. Their electricity, they wear rubber boots, but it's maybe not electrifying the bars. Like that all makes so much sense. It's just, oh man, it's
using
just
the water to short circuit the whole situation.
Also, so shout out to Frank at Geek Freaks for saying that last time.
I said
if he's like, oh, you know, the water on the wall, I'm thinking the water on the ground, the electricity, these are all things I'm putting together. And I'm like, you know, if that happens, I'll give you a shout out.
That's exactly what happens. So that's why,
right on, dude.
Yeah, that's why he runs the big podcast, the Geek Freaks podcast. But yeah, man, that was, oh man. And yeah, them breaking it down and the tension and he comes back out, you know, and he's all wet. I'm like, are they going to see him right here? And
also that's a timing thing too, right? Like, because when he looks over and they're going down the lift, they're showing like the water come out. And I'm like, are they showing us this because they're going to notice the water before the elevator gets down to where they need it to be? And I was like, oh, but of course it got to exactly where they want. But I'm like, the timing, if he broke that pipe even a little bit more earlier, it could have screwed everything. They would be like, there's a fucking water leak over here. What's going on over here? You know, he comes out all wet. Like, yeah, they could have like, everything had to be timed.
Are you wet? Yeah.
I shit myself. Like, oh, I get it.
No, definitely. That part's crazy. But then, so they bring the new person in and man, that new person gets sacrificed, I feel like right away. So I felt bad for him because he doesn't know anything. But at the same time, he would have been in there and possibly died anyway. So
he got a shot in though. He got to tase that guard one time.
He did.
He got shot. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't even catch that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I liked the small tidbits too when they were bringing in the new person and the guards like are so in this susceptible state that he says the exact same thing to the new guy coming in. This is the electric prod. Don't make me use it. I'll make you remember. Like exact same wording.
The exact same wording that he said to Cassian when he came in?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's almost like it's in the handbook or some shit, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like everything is so the idea that Cassian understands the situation so in-depthly that there is routine, that there is almost a sense of complacency, that they feel like they're in control even though they know they're not, that if they continue on in this way that they can maintain the illusion of control. And once that gets taken away, you see how they all hid within that one little space. You see how they react to the idea that they recognize that they know that they are outnumbered.
Right.
I like to
it was very interesting.
Cassian dropping logic. Like he's like, you think they're listening? He's like, why, you know, like the reason why they scare us with this whole electricity and stuff and all that, like they're not bothered to listen to us. Like they know we fear them already. They're not going to listen to us.
Right.
And you just see like Kino kind of like, yeah, I guess you're right about that.
Yeah. Even in addition to that, you're right. That was such a great point. But in addition to that, there was the line between him and Kino where it was like, you know, what do you call these guards? Something I can't remember, like hiding or whatever. And he goes power, and he goes, he's like true power isn't afraid, or something like that. I'm like, God damn, like these dropping such awesome line nuggets in this show. That's like these are all such fire quotes. It was Oh man, I liked it.
Oh yeah, that was the
so
tension
much.
when they were saying like, "Are we doing this plan or not?" Right? And he's trying to. They're like going back and forth next to that door, like getting ready up. Like,
Yes, yeah. And then
that was a good scene.
Right. And then Cassian has to say like on program. And and like you could see like Kino's kind of contemplating everything. He's like,
yeah,
he's kind of right. Like, do I want to give everything to them one little piece at a time, or do I want to at least know, like go out knowing I gave it my all to free us? You know, and that line, just the shift.
Shout out to that actor. What's that actor's name again?
Which one? Andor?
Spiegel.
Oh, Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis
So
went
good.
from being almost virtually a nobody in what we consider today. When he first came on, I believe one of his first roles was Smeagol, right? And
that was the first role I ever knew him from.
Yeah,
same.
And he was doing motion capture and blah blah blah, and then he started taking like these real fucking roles. Because wasn't he on Devil Wears Prada?
That I am not too sure.
Let me jump in his IMDb while we.
I want to say
he
was he started doing roles, but like his acting has kind of, to me, grown substantially. Like,
yes,
I can't say more about his acting chops. Like,
no, absolutely, like his acting chops is so good. But like, I mean, his acting as Smeagol though is still
great.
Matched. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't even imagine somebody who can do that role as well as he did. Like, just the voice he came up with and the movement, the way he moved his body, and like he was Smeagol. Like, he created this character that's always going to look like and hopefully sound like that in a way, you know? Yeah. It's like you can't imagine Darth Vader looking and sounding in a different way, or Thanos looking or sounding a different way. It's like they're so just that iconic. It's like, it's crazy. So,
well, speaking of that, looking and sounding, like Andy Serkis has a very interesting look, kind of like a Willem Dafoe type of look. Like, they're not unattractive, but they're not like your stereotypical like,
like
guy's
handsome
man
Hollywood
of the year. Exactly.
guy,
like, and his voice is like
Chris
so
Evans.
deep, and he's no Chris Evans. Let me tell you something. But and his voice is so deep and gravelly, and like the way in this role, like you definitely believe he's been through some shit before he got here, and then he earned the respect of everyone here.
Right.
It's like you just like, he demands respect, like just in like small scenes he does. And like, I don't know what it was, but every time he put his hands on his head, like I love that he like combed his hair back.
back.
Especially when he was messed up, right? When he was talking to Andor.
It's like he's centering himself again or something.
It's like he needs to collect himself.
Yeah,
for sure. I know, such great character work and like just great, just movement and all that stuff. It like really added to his character. He has been, in such a short amount of time in the show, such a standout, because he brings so much to it. Just his reactions, like you were saying, Scott, his tone, and you're right, Scott, like Drake, his like acting is just, it brought so much, and it was a perfect kind of opposition to what Andor was, which is, hey, I like, they're both so stern, but at the same time, like it gave so much power to how cool, calm, and collected Andor was. Like, to me, I don't know if people are going to hate this or like this, but at the same time, like he's kind of been what I want, like a new Han Solo to be. He is confident. He knows what he's got to do. He's got to, and again, he's a reluctant, like, participant in working as a team, but at the same time, like, he's so vital to the team. And then he starts realizing how much he needs them as well. And it's like, I don't know. He just like is this like kind of cool, almost Han Solo-esque character to me that worked perfectly in opposition to Andy Serkis. Yeah.
And how heartbreaking was it when Andy Serkis like, I can't swim?
Oh my God, like, no. That part.
I was like, help this man. And then Cassian gets shoved off, and I was like, fuck, Cassian would have helped him for sure. He would have figured it out.
I know.
I think it was such a beautiful juxtaposition too, because he's worked so hard to get all those guys in line. He can finally truly lead them into something that he actually believes in. And he gets to a point where there's literal freedom, and he's like, man, I don't know how to swim. Like,
that's
such a beautiful juxtaposition. Like,
you can see land. Like, oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah, that was so good. So yeah, that was such a heartbreaking moment. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And he played it to perfection. And then let's get into just the big, like, if all that wasn't crazy enough for this episode and wasn't tear-jerking, emotional, action-packed, tense, like everything you could want, then we get Luthen coming back. And I don't remember that character Lonnie that's in that elevator from any other part in the show, or if he was from Rogue One. But then we get that monologue between him and Luthen. Stellan Skarsgård.
I want to say Lonnie, wasn't he the same dude? So when what's her name has the plan, like, hey, why don't we send the ship back out with the man or whatever the heck? And then I want to say, maybe I'm wrong. I want to say Lonnie was the one that goes, why don't we investigate the ship too? Like one-ups her kind of thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's an ISB agent for the Empire.
Right.
That's
and
right.
I think like, but he knows like she's coming in and like controlling shit. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to be found. I want to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
you're right. Yeah, totally. So we find out, I guess this is where we learn that he's a double agent working for Luthen and this part of this rebel faction. And yeah, I don't know. Do you guys, Scott, do you want to go into it? Because that monologue, there was a couple moments in this episode and I literally did this. Like I jumped up and was like clapping. I was like, yeah! When they were taking over the prison. Yeah. And then I was like freaking out when they were like, there's freedom. And then I quickly sat down and almost cried when he said I couldn't swim. And then I got to this and I was like, oh my God, there's more. And then this part was like, I need to sit down and cover my mouth because I'm like, holy shit, this monologue. Like, what have you given up? What have you sacrificed for the rebellion?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple things he said. I was like, dude, these are great lines.
Please,
he's like,
I got goosebumps for sure.
Like, I've made my mind a sunless place.
Yeah.
I filled my dreams with ghosts. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. He's like, I burned my life to make a sunrise I'll never see. I'm like, holy fuck. Yeah, kill those guys. Yeah, they deserve it. Like you went from like Lonnie's point of view. I mean, granted, it's like we said, war is like total gray area, and I don't agree with it all. But Lonnie's point of view, like I'm giving you a heads up so these people don't need to die. And he's like, you're too much of an investment to like let those people live. Sorry, they gotta die. Like even better chance to show that you're not a spy. Like this is great. And it's like, what are you talking about? I want out. And he's like, sorry, like you've invested too much and I've invested too much. If I can't get out, you can't get out. And like the way he says it though is like so poetic.
Sure.
Like,
absolutely. I mean, he even says like, my greatest failure or pain is that I have to use the tactics of my enemy. I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's like, I forgot what the saying is. And if you guys know it, please tell me, but it's like, to catch a killer, you have to like act or think like a killer. But like, he's literally taking it a step farther and like acting like one, you know what I mean? Like he's like, in order to beat it. To beat the Empire, I have to act like the Empire. And it's like such a crazy kind of thought process, it's like, I don't know. It just hits me in such a different visceral way, and it makes me think about all these great detectives and people who've had to do these crazy things throughout history to kind of conquer a greater evil. Well, like sometimes it takes evil to beat an evil, and just that line, it shook me to the core, man. It was so good. So good.
Do you think, could anybody else that you come to mind to think about, like who could have delivered those lines better?
I don't know about better, but I think somebody who else could have delivered those lines is like a Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he could have made it work.
Or what's the guy, that chameleon actor, who's in Harry Potter and all that? He's such a chameleon. I always forget his name. The Luthen guy or whatever that we were talking about earlier. No, he's good too. The guy who's Harry's uncle, which turns to a dog. What's his name? He's the commissioner.
Oh my goodness!
I always forget his name. That's how great he is. He makes me forget.
Yeah, I'm like hating myself right now because he's like one of my favorite acters.
He was so good. He was so good in The Fifth Element. I loved him in The Fifth Element.
My favorite. Oh, yeah, he's so great.
Gary
Oldman. He's so good. I feel like any actor who's like really good at just becoming like the character, you forget they're the Tom Cruise or the Rock, they could deliver those. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and all those guys we named are like Shakespearean classically trained actors. So that kind of goes to show like, there's people who come from that school of training and have that experience, like for you to make that transition from that type of theater and acting to a big screen, like you have some chops. You can do some stuff. So yeah, I think so. I'm not going to say that Stellan Skarsgård is the only person that can deliver it, but what he did, I don't want to see anybody else try it.
No, agree. The point I was trying to make was I think he was the perfect man for the job. Like the grit in his voice, the way that he portrayed his character from his storefront owner to what he was doing in the background. You can feel the angst, you can feel the pain, you can see in his blocking and in his verbiage how he's delivering those lines, that what he's saying is not only true, but it goes beyond any idea of what you think you might know about him. And that's right, I think, key in that situation.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like that's what this show keeps doing great. It's like just when you think you have a good understanding of who this character is and what they're about, they throw another piece of information in there and you're like, holy God, like, holy shit. Like, how does that like, wow, I can't believe they've opened up a whole nother side to this box and it's completely changed the view of how I'm looking at this picture. I mean, that's the thing. Like, even with the other people who were involved in the heist, I forgot what that girl's name is, but she ends up being Mon Mothma's cousin. And she's hey, you can't talk about this here. Like, even that. And then her relationship, it's like, and then her knowing Luthen's curator at the collection place. It's like all these people have so many layers. And we even talk about freaking Cyril and him stalking Griba.
Like, I was going to bring that up. Is he in love? Or is he just like super in love with catching Andor? Like, I don't know.
Exactly. like is he just a creep stalking her, or is he so in love with the fact that she is the closest to catching him that it makes him love her more? Like, I don't know what it is, but that is so interesting.
So much depth.
It's so much depth, and it was such a unique thing to throw in there because it just felt so creepy. It was like, wait, just when I feel sympathetic for this guy and what's going on with him and how hard his life must be, it's like, holy shit, now he's like this creepy stalker guy too.
And all without a single lightsaber. Like,
yeah.
It's that's a good point. And it's like, and this episode, right? Like, it's so easy for you to just want to see Andor and him escaping. But like when they jump to these other characters, like, I want to know more about these stories as well. Like that's how great all these actors are. Like, like that creepy dude, like his breakfast with his mom. Like, I'm always like, oh yeah, let's see what's going on with him and his mom right now. Like, I like the interactions and like it's so fucking well written.
So written. Dude. So hats off to Tony Gilroy. Man, it's so good. I don't want it. Like, it's so crazy because if we go back to some of our previous episodes and we talk about what we were most looking forward to this year, Andor wasn't even close to my top 10. I was like, I don't even care. Like, I liked Rogue One, but he was not the character I would have highlighted from Rogue One. It probably would have been like the blind monk guy who had the Force, or Saw Gerrera, or something like that. But then to pick Cassian and to see how he became Rebel and tie in all these other great, amazing story arcs to it, I'm blown away. I really
remember him from Rogue One.
Yeah, well, you should go back and watch it because I've watched it recently. It's good.
Wait, you don't remember who? Sorry.
Cassian from Rogue One.
Oh, yeah. He's in it for sure.
Yeah. He's the one that like basically convinces, her name is like Jin Darin or something like that too. He's the one that's kind of responsible for her and gets her around and like takes her to talk to Saw Gerrera about her dad and so forth and so forth. But anyways, it's really good. And it's making that movie even better now. And like, that was already a good movie. So this, man, Andor, I can't say enough good things. I just hope they stick the landing.
And like Alan Tudyk is here, right? So as K2SO, so I can't wait till like that interaction happens.
What?
Probably gonna be towards the end, but
damn, they just bring in all the great actors.
Alan Tudyk, dude, so good. That guy, so good.
Yeah, he's good. But yeah, let's move on. We have some things to wrap up with anime, and then we'll briefly touch on comic book club. I'll get into that after. Let's talk about something. We almost touched on it, but we're bringing it back. We're doing some anime, and it is Chainsaw Man. We are talking about episode 4 and 5. Were you guys able to watch those?
Yeah.
Nice. Rad, we are learning more. Shoot, I don't even know what the main hero's name is. Dang it. I know Power.
I want to pull it up.
Why don't I? Between Ichigo in Bleach and Midoriya in My Hero Academia. I cannot even remember this guy's name, but it's funny because Chainsaw Man continues to be so damn good. Denji. That's what it's like. It's such a funky name.
Denji.
That's right. It is. It's it's right there. So yeah, what did you guys think? Because I'm loving this show still. And even when he's not turning into Chainsaw Man, the world is so interesting.
Yeah. The world is so interesting.
Yeah. It's like such a crazy lore mythology that they're creating.
Yes. The devils, like we talked about last time, are all essentially huge human fears. And when we think about the one that they go into in the most recent episode, which is the gun god, or the gun devil. Yeah. Because everybody's afraid of guns, right? And they kind of went into this happened and blah, blah, blah. And then this huge explosion, et cetera, et cetera.
Wait, before we continue there, because I thought that was so also incredible. The fact that there was this commentary from a Japanese anime on gun violence and that they use America as an example, I thought was super interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was interesting too, because it was it ties into now, I was like, right. Oh, so this is happening at this point. Not so this is the year 2030 something. I was like, whoa, right. This is super
or
relevant.
In a different, it could be a different universe, but the timeline seems to be our current timeline.
Right. Because they even showed the tower and right. So it was
they showed one of the twin towers, which I was like, holy shit. And they related gun violence back to terrorism. I'm like, I would have never guessed in a show where the main guy's goal is to touch a boob that we would get commentary on gun violence in America. And it just was, I thought it was so smart and well done. I was like, this is incredible. I just thought it really had something impactful to say that I was surprised that it did.
Yeah, and the timeline made sense, right? You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see it rising to power. They were the gun devil showed its face at this time, kind of came out of nowhere and just devastated people.
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Within a 2-minute explanation, they got the fear into you for the gun devil, especially with the ending of that house being blown.
It was and it was just a crazy place that I didn't expect this anime to go.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, holy shit, this is saying a lot, and it also was interesting for me to be like, wow, we as Americans are the example of gun violence for other people in the world. And that to me makes me pretty sad. And then I'm not here to say guns are bad or this or that, but it just is it's kind of sad that other countries view us that way, and it's wow. So I don't know, just interesting. It was a very interesting thing to throw in the episode. Sorry, Drake. Yeah. I don't know if you want to continue after that.
And getting back to the world building with these devils, it is a very interesting parallel to kind of the human fears and how we manifest them, and that there's these individuals that are kind of meant to take them down, right? And so there's a lot of similarity between kind of the idea of being a warrior in a garden, right? Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war. And so you're seeing the differentiation between the lay, who are just the everyday individuals who are living life, and the individuals who are taking it upon themselves to be able to help defeat, if not ward off, these quote unquote devils, these fears of the common folk. And with someone like Denji, who was very different, right? Not only did he not fear the chainsaw devil, right? He took it in. He became one with it. He's befriending these individuals. He's seeing the good, the light in all of these quote unquote devils, right? Now, granted, he was so separated from humanity that maybe that was his only kind of option to be able to befriend a devil or devils.
Do you think that based off what you're saying, do you think that in a sense, his fear was a more practical devil in the sense it wasn't a creature, but it was more of I need to eat, I need to figure out where to sleep, I need to figure out how to survive. In a way, that was his biggest obstacle, right? Wasn't that his devil, the devil that he truly feared the most?
I think to an extent, yes. An argument could definitely be made in that situation, because he was struggling with not only his parent, right? Because his, I believe he took on his family's debt. And the person that was really more of a quote unquote father figure to him was the one who was pushing him back into that role to continue to fulfill that quote unquote debt. And so him not being able to live a normal childhood, him not being available to do the things normally that, you know, society would do, and also being shunned for the fact of not only his detriment or his situation, he was never helped by anybody, and he had to take that upon himself. And so the essentially the fear of not being seen as normal, the fear of not being kind of regular in that sense, kind of pushed through more so for me than anything else. And the fact that he befriended devils and how he's looking at it through, like, so for example, those small little goals that he has, right? I just want to touch boobs, or I want to fall in love with a woman, like very simplistic things that we think would be quote unquote normal. But for him, he views himself as someone who is below, because that's how he viewed it through the eyes of other people who were viewing him, right? He lived in a shack, so nobody wanted to talk to him. He smelled stinky, so nobody wanted to befriend him, et cetera, et cetera. And so he was being viewed as quote unquote a devil in the sense of he's not normal, right? But that's, you know, many different ways of viewing it. So in that sense, I think in terms of that world building, I really do enjoy watching that dynamic in a kind of a deeper standpoint, but also to the action. I think, Scott, you talked about the overall direction of the show in itself and the cinematics of it and how the camera moves, et cetera. But yeah, take it on from there, boys.
Jumping off from the way it's moving and stuff, it kind of reminds me of Jujutsu Kaisen in that way, which is another fairly new anime. So it makes me think that like these newer animes maybe that's the style now, which I'm super down for. Like the way they're directing the action shots and whatnot are crazy cool. But I just want to point that out. Like the action is unbelievable especially for a show you're watching like weekly. You know, it's like there's moments in this show where you're like, you think they're saving some of these shots for like a movie, but like I guess that's where we are now, like where we can pump these out like weekly. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. Yeah, it's been a pretty great show. I love the character. As like creepy and pervy as he seems, like when Christina walked in the room, she's like, "What the hell are you watching? You're watching like hentai or something?" I'm like, "No." It's like those moments where he is just trying to touch the boob or whatever, like crack me up. And then how after he was like, "That was it. It wasn't that great," or whatever. You know, like there's just weird, quirky character things about him that make me love this character, and I want to just see where it goes. And the world is so interesting. I want to see what other devils come up. And that girl basically made a deal with a devil so she could use their hand. Like it was just like,
that's so cool. I like that aspect where, and even the other guy, right? He like sacrifices a bit of his arm or whatever to summon that dog devil or whatever it is.
Right, the fox. That was cool.
Like that's so cool that they make deals with these devils, and they're like, there's certain ones they kill, and then there's certain ones that it's what are we gonna do with the devil? No, it's so cool that they make like these contracts, or like I won't kill you, but we'll utilize you. I don't know if they have them somewhere, and they're like, here's the stipulation, we'll let you live if we do this. But she also gave up an eye, so it almost seemed like an equal trade. You know, like they came to a decision where it's like, hey, you're way too powerful, but we could use your abilities. How can we make this work? Like. So I am super interested to see if some of these devils they meet later end up like some of the Arankar or something like in Bleach, where they're like, because right now I feel like we're seeing like the kind of like grotesque looking, dumb looking, or scary looking ones that are like seem powerful right now, but I remember the early days of Bleach, and then you get like the elite levels of the devils where they're like, you know, you couldn't even fathom them being like that. Like they might even walk among them. Like who knows, right?
And who knows who these devils are partnering up with? Like we're seeing it from the government side, like the tech quote unquote good side, or at least that's the way it's pitched to us. But who knows who they're partnering up?
Who knows what the money devil looks like?
I do.
The land devil.
You read a little bit more into like the background of it, and a little bit into the manga. Like there is. One of the characters right now, is a devil, and the devil, that this particular devil is so strong that the humans just are like, fuck it. Like
we can't do anything.
We can't do anything about it, so we might as well just have you work with us or whatever. Like that kind of powerful.
Yeah. Whereas like we can't take you down, so just be on our side.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
to come.
That technically there is one currently right now.
Oh,
in the manga. Right on. That's cool, man. Yeah.
That's cool.
That is, it's awesome. If you like pervy humor and like gore and cool action, this is the show for you. It's not too late. It's like, I don't know how many episodes. These animes usually have like 20, 40 episodes, whatever they are. So it's only on episode 6, but yeah, man, it's good. And we're getting to see more of the agents that Denji's in the unit with. So check that one out. Drake, do you want to take it away on Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War? Because I need you to explain to me like who people are again, and like how are these Quincy's so powerful? They're like killed everybody in the Soul Society in these last few episodes, and now they're just taking Bankai like they're collecting Pokemon. It's ridiculous, man. It's badass, but it's like, how are they so damn powerful? And it's a massacre.
Without spoilers, though.
Yeah.
Explain to us with everything we know right now.
I think we're in spoilers because we're going week to week by these episodes.
No, I mean, like, I don't want you to be like, well, the last battle is,
yeah.
You know, I don't want to know that.
No. Don't give us the manga. Give us the episodes.
Yeah.
So in the most recent episode, we get to see a little bit more of Genryusai, the captain, the head captain of the 1st Division, who essentially is the strongest. He's one of the oldest captains in the Soul Society, aside from his lieutenant, who was murdered in the 1st episode, I believe, of this, and Unohana, who is the captain of Squad 4. And so why are these Quincy's so powerful? Essentially because they have like essentially what's like reishi manipulation. And in the arc when they disappeared, because essentially back in the day, the Quincy's destroy the spirits of the hollows. So that means it creates a huge off balance, especially if there's no restriction between Earth and the Soul Society. So the Soul Society helps manage the spirits, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's why you see in one of the 1st or 2nd episode, they're kind of like, oh, what happened to all of these souls in this one area? Why did they all get circled into this one spot? And then they just disappeared. And that was because they were trying to balance the Earth souls and the souls, or Earth people and the souls in the Soul Society. So if that becomes off balance, what happens is an incursion happens and everything explodes. So the Quincy's are coming back because at one point in time, the Shinigami knew that this was happening, and the Quincy's weren't really, their creeds didn't match. And so the Shinigami, in a point of weakness, took it upon themselves to eliminate all of the Quincy's. So they essentially had a genocide. And there were a few Quincy's that were able to kind of escape. And when they escaped, they essentially evolved their powers, right? So a lot of the things that they have now are like the Ranso Tengai, or the Let's Still, or the Volstendig, or the Sanctusweiger, which are all German-esque type names. And you can kind of tell, what the parallels are in terms of what Bleach is going for here. But essentially what you would consider like a true Quincy would be Uryu, right? He uses his bow. He gets a little bit stronger over the course of time, but he uses it essentially to eliminate the Quincy's only within that area portion of it. Whereas these new Quincy's are completely hell-bent on revenge. And so their whole thing is not about patience or balance. Their whole thing is about complete destruction. And so because they've honed these skills, and through their quote unquote own scientists have, raised these techniques over the course of, because they'd have, 1,000 years to be able to figure out how can they defeat the Shinigami. And so they created this thing where they can steal the bankai of of a Shinigami who uses the bankai in itself. And what this does is it renders the Shikai kind of useless, because the Quincy's are so strong in themselves that they could probably dominate them. But the most powerful of the most powerful Shinigami's bankais are literally kind of to a point where it equalizes the situation. And so when they came in and they started murdering everybody, they forced the lieutenants and the captains to use their bankais because they wanted quick elimination, right? You just murdered, hundreds of men. Mm-hmm. And so they stole some of those initial bankais. And right now we're going through the idea of, okay, what's going to happen when they get their bankai back, or how are they going to survive without their bankai? And in this most recent episode, you get to see Genryusai step into it. You get to see a flashback of him and his first lieutenant, and how his first lieutenant came to be. I think his name is Saskibe. And he has this really cool weather manipulation bankai where lightning comes down and he can control essentially that strike of lightning through his rapier, which is his Shikai. And for me, cool. That was the first time I ever got to see that, and it's super beautiful. But Genryusai is so powerful that even a full-on bankai use from a Quincy that stole it rendered it pretty much useless. It just kind of tattered his clothes. And then Genryusai was like, I miss you, Saskibe. But it's sad to see that, this person would use your bankai in such a weak form. And then with one slash, eliminates that Quincy from the Serete. And as he explodes out of that position and he tells one of the first lieutenants that he's going to essentially eliminate every single one by himself. And that harkens back to, what is that called? What is that guy's name called? The captain of the science division, where he says, this is your fault, Genryusai. You should have eliminated all of them when you had the chance.
Oh, right. I remember that part. Yeah. We were just talking to the head captain and saying, like, you should have killed them before. Kanauchi, I think is his name. The scientist?
Yes. So do you. And then you can feel the reishi kind of building in the Serete. And then all of the captains and the lieutenants are like, look at how pissed off Genryusai is. Like, we can't go down without a fight because he's up there super upset. And
he became their Andor.
Yeah, he became their Andor. One of the captains was like, wow, I can feel how angry he is. It's giving me goosebumps. It's like he's scolding me. Yeah. And I need to I need to step it up. And everybody got a second wind, and it ended right there on a beautiful moment to like what's going to happen next. And that's what this arc has been doing so far. It's been putting you on edge every single time, giving you a little bit more information, giving you a lot more action than we've seen in previous arcs. And I cannot wait to see this completely fulfilled, because some of the battles that we're about to see and some of the new characters they're going to introduce is going to really bring this all together.
Yeah. What was interesting too is like when that guy took that electric powers, how they flash back to being like, this was my bankai, but I figured out how to use it the best way I could. And like he like leveled up his own bankai. So I'm hoping that some of them, when they use the bankais, it's like, just of course it's going to be their weakest form, but of course that one person who like just creates energy things gets Byakuya's one, who like you don't really need to improve it, you just fucking unleash it on people and it like wrecks them. So that's unfortunate that guy got that Byakuya's one. Like I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to beat Byakuya's bankai, like other than maybe Ichigo or something.
Is that the one where he turns his sword into like the flower petals? That's oh my god! And then he unleashes it on him. I was like,
he took it to the face too.
To the face. I was like, that looks. It was just razor blades to the face. I was like,
so he choose option one, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
no choice, boy.
No choice.
But that was cool. And what was it? of course, yeah, fucking Yamamoto blasting off like a fucking comet off the earth. Like that was ridiculous. Boom! I was like, holy fuck, he's strong. I've never seen him. We've never really seen him do anything. And we always just, the only thing we saw was like from the video game, which could have just been like maybe he does this. Like they don't know.
right.
And then seeing Kenpachi talk about how you fucking brutally killed those 3 guys before wanting to fight the Grandmaster dude. That was so cool. Where he's like, first guy, I just cut him in half, and they show it. Second guy, he talked too much. I ripped his throat out. I was like, holy fuck.
I know you don't want me to spoil anything, but I have to let you know that this is like literally the tip of the iceberg as it pertains to like power.
I'm sure. That's why I'm so pumped. I'm like, they're starting so hard.
Crazy.
I learned that Kenpachi learns his sword's name, which is like, if you don't know Bleach, like that's like a big deal to like know that's like,
yeah. How he's gonna get to learn it too is something that is gonna be amazing, and you're gonna get to see. I mean, imagine Hiwatch and Genryusai battle, right? These are all things that you want to see, and most likely you're going to see. It gets crazier and crazier and crazier into the crescendos, into a place of like, man, how much more can they go? And even into the next arc that we've read about ever so slightly, it gets even crazier after that too. So
my God, I'm so looking forward to that.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. Oh man, it's already getting so good, and I guess we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So I can't wait till we dive a little bit deeper on that, because that's insane. It's really good though. So yeah, but if you have any more questions, try to hit Drake up on Twitter. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Bleach. And then our last thing is My Hero Academia. I almost like barely remember this now. Like now that we've gone through so many different things, but it's still actually, I lie in the fact that it was so good still. I was like, geez, this is like one of the best episodes yet, because we finally get Midoriya back in the mix, and it's him and Bakugo, and they are like, they realize that what is his name? Why am I forgetting it right now?
Shigaraki.
Yeah, he knows that somebody has one for all, and that's like the final piece to his puzzle of like ultimate power. Even though his power of decay is like pretty god tier already, it clears out whatever it was, like a whole city block. And man, it's getting really, really freaking good. We get to see what is Todoroki's dad's name? Endeavor. Man, we get to see Endeavor.
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 Hard, yeah.
He gets to go off, and he gets to go all out on Shigaraki, and it's still quite not enough, which is insane. That shows like how powerful and overpowered Shigaraki has become in that like place where he can steal powers, I guess, right? So oh man, and the battle gets amazing. We get to see more of like the full force of the heroes fight, the force of the villains of the Liberation Army. Yeah, man, it's good. It was cool to see also like Tokoyami. What is his name? Tokoyami. Yes, he ends up saving Hawks and like does it for like his sensei, which was, man, all these little threads are like finally coming together and pulling off. I thought it was like really weird how we didn't have any of like the characters that I consider like the main characters really starting off the show, but it's starting to make sense because there was a lot of groundwork they needed to cover. And now that we're seeing some of the main heroes kind of drop out, it's time for the students to step in, and it makes sense of why they're actually in the battle. I thought that was actually a really smart writing choice, rather than just saying, hey, kids, get in there and fight these heroes or these villains, even though you guys only have your provisional license and you're only year one still, which that part of me is a little hesitant because I'm like, where they go from this, being that they're still only year ones, but it was still, these battles are fucking awesome. The character development, everything I feel like is really paying off. And we get to see Midoriya really take a stand, like, and also he's not just the one that's going to save them all. Like he's not powerful enough to stop Shigaraki. And what's his name? Gran Torino has to come in and save them at the last second.
Yep. That guy's so fast, huh?
So fast. I'm like, what is really his power? Because is it just that he's fast? I don't really even know because he's kind of strong too, and he like kicks people when he's like super fast. I don't know, but
he was
really
in
cool.
the nick of time constantly in this episode. Yeah, just saved you.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah,
like, holy crap! I was like, where was he, man? He came in like. Talking about fucking whiplash, dude.
From
like,
across the city. Yeah. He was like in the hospital, and next second he's like saving them from across the city. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, it's been really good. And it was cool. Like, and we get to see now Midoriya is like kind of familiar with how his whip works, or like his black whip. And he starts like, he full on them, like he was using them like Spider-Man powers. I was like, oh shit, now he just like swings from them. I thought that was
super
kind
fast
of cool.
too, right? Apparently, because Bakugo's flying as fast as he could, right?
Right.
And Midoriya's going, he's at what, 45% or 40% now?
Yeah, he's got
like
his
constant.
full caling up to 40. Yeah, it was so good. Yeah. So we kind of, man, the journey that we've seen Midoriya on has been pretty incredible. It's probably how you feel about Luffy, you know, it's like he really had to do a lot to get to this point. But you know, the other thing, it was so many threads and so many story threads going on in last season and now continued in this one. It finally feels like they're all kind of paying off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long burn for where it's going. Cause if we've already seen the fact that Midoriya wants to fight, but we know that he definitely can't. I mean, if Endeavor's having a hard time, we know, you know, that's not going to be the case for Deku. So the fact that the power scaling is happening like this right now, like on the same lines of Bleach, like how far is this going to go? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd like to, because I know we kind of mentioned a lot of the cool parts, but even like some of the smaller parts where like Aizawa's using his powers and then like the other guy's like wetting his eyes so his eyes don't get dried out. I was like, what a nice touch. He's like, like I got you, bro.
Funny.
Like what a support character there.
That was a funny part. Yeah. It's like, because I mean his whole thing is like he has to stare. Like it's obvious you have to drive. Like just a little touches like that make the show so great. And
they drop some comedy in there while
the comedy. I mean, even when Mount, what is her name, Miss Mount, or gosh dang it, Mount Lady,
about to face it. That guy,
she's about to sit on it, and he's like the bottom. I was like, oh my god, they still have these moments, even though they can pull out some big drama. Like there's these really great like comedic moments still in there, and I think that's the part I love about the show, like the comedy. Even though I thought the comedy in the dub, I know it's like sacrilege to say, but I thought the dub was pretty good and the comedy really lands in the dub, but it still really works in the sub as well. So if you're afraid of subtitles, like, and you want like, there's still a lot of humor to be had.
I'll second that with Thomas. I started the show with the dub because Christine, just depending on what we're doing, right? It's easier to like eat or do something and have it playing in the background when it's in English. Obviously, because we speak that, but the voice actors they got, like especially like we haven't seen him in a while, but that little grape guy in English is so funny.
He is.
He got like this weird voice. So, like I don't know what it is, but it's like it matches his pervy personality.
It's actually
like,
pretty good. Funny. That was actually not bad at all. Like I'm glad you could just whip that out. But you're right. Yeah, great ball. We haven't seen some of the other characters. It was like interesting that Todoroki, not Todoroki. What is half cold, half hot? I can't remember his name. It's just amazing.
So, Todoroki, I think, right?
It is Todoroki, right? God dang, I'm like getting all their names mixed up. Too many like Japanese animes, but it shouldn't be a problem. But anyways, like, it was interesting that he didn't end up going with Bakugo and Midoriya. Like I thought he would have.
For real, yeah.
And there's like some. Yes.
Who knows if he could keep up, right? Like because they're going pretty quick.
True.
Bakugo was like made a point to mention like I'm getting stronger. Like he's basically Vegeta to Midoriya's Goku.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great parallel.
I'm getting stronger too, and I want to surpass him. But he's like pushing it at his max too, and he's like, I'm kind of surpassing him right now, and he's at 40%, which is like he's like doing the power math in his head. But I don't know if anyone else could keep up with him right now. That's crazy.
That's a good point. Yeah, so it's been really good. And Shigaraki is just truly like a villain now. He's such a badass villain that I want to see him go down. Like it's great. And also we have like still have the guy Gancha Monachia or Monachia or whatever his name is, like still
Radio?
coming.
Oh, Makia, yeah.
Makia, yeah. I mean, that guy coming in is gonna, and seeing the heroes have to fight him. If they can make Mirko as bad as she was
Dude,
or is,
Mirko.
like, holy shit! I can't wait to see what they do with some of these other heroes. Like, what's your favorite guy's name? Like Best Genius.
Oh, the Best Genius, yeah.
Oh, I
I
can't
wanna
wait for
see-
him to go all out, right?
Yeah, I want to see him go all out. I mean, I still don't understand what the killer whale guy's power is to this point.
You know
And like
what?
he's
I
been in
think it
several
was like
episodes.
I think they mentioned. Does he have like some kind of like sonar thing out of his hands? Because there was a point where he had a guy's face up against the wall, and it looked like he was like shooting crazy sound into his face, and I'm like, that's probably killing him. Like, I don't know if you're just beating him up, but like,
right. But that guy
I was
dead.
wondering, like, is that his power or is he just super strong? Like, yeah, it's still kind of unclear. But that was the first time I've ever seen him do anything like remote to power. So maybe it's something like that, like a sonar thing.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, just as a point, like there's so many characters with so many cool powers. And then we haven't even really got back to the students of Class 1A. So when they have to come back in the mix where, you get that final battle, almost like the last Harry Potter movie, it's going to be like, is it just going to be these last kids with Shigaraki's final forces? Like, what is going to go on? So it's been good. The action is great. And
heroes are dying.
And heroes are
Yeah,
dying.
crazy.
That's the other part. The shield guy.
The shield guy, he died with a thumbs up. He's like, go on. Like,
I know.
I was like, it was like Thanos dusted him. Oh, man.
That's true. That's true. I know a bunch of them it's like, wow, the stakes are so high here where it's like, man, these top level heroes and that's what they do are dying. Man, I'm like afraid for the kids. Like I'm really afraid for them now. So yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I wonder if they'll start to kill kids.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I guess I wouldn't put it past them now.
That could be a cliffhanger if one of the students, their classmates die or something.
I know, like just because the stakes, how much more could you raise the stakes by, killing a fucking student? And we know how much, what's his name? Not Eisen. The guy who has the eyeball situation.
Aizawa.
Oh, like we know how much he cares for the students, right? So it's like, whoa, how much more intense could we get here? Because I mean, that's I think that's the way you went up right now. Yeah,
that's true. That's how you build. Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't put it past one of the kids dying. Like it seems like that could definitely be a possibility. But we also I think you also bring up the point that Midoriya is only using 40% of her power, not only to show the comparison between him and Bakugo, but also to say, hey, there's a lot of room left for Midoriya to go to. And he's only unlocked, 2 of the powers of the 7 or 3 of the powers of the 7. So there's, another one could emerge in another battle with Shigaraki or, the Giganto villain or whatever he was. So it's crazy, man. It is so good. So anime is popping off right now. Loving it. All right.
Yeah. If not one of the students, though, I think maybe one of the teachers could die too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like somebody who we've grown close to, whether it's like Aizawa or that night lady. I forgot what her name is, but she's up there too. Right. Or like hopefully not the DJ guy, because I love that guy with the microphone. He's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just wrap this up. We'll just briefly talk about Comic Book Club. And really, a Comic Book Club was all about Black Panther and kind of the origins of some of the stories that we might see for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I'll tell you guys, I read 40 books this past weekend. 40 different or 50 different Black Panther comics.
You got this.
Dang. All right.
Yeah. I don't know if I got this because I read, I was just curious, it started off, we were going to read the Reginald Hudlin run that eventually leads to Siri becoming Black Panther. And I think that's in issue 2, I guess is where they say it starts, but she doesn't really become Black Panther till 20, I want to say. So there's that, but also it was really in depth of what motivates Black Panther and who is he as a king and what are some of the dilemmas he faces. It's cool because some of the runs that I was reading was like how he became Black Panther, where there's like a cool tie-in between him and Killmonger, and that there's this part where when he goes to challenge his uncle in the comic books for the right of Black Panther, Shuri is about to run in there and do it, but who beats her to it is her brother T'Challa. So there's that part where that's like kind of great because it kind of shows that there was always this want for her to be Black Panther, but at the same time, like it wasn't her time, or she wasn't ready, or there was somebody more worthy in front of her. And then we kind of dip into this world of like what him as Black Panther, what he's in charge of. And also like this tie-in with the X-Men, which was kind of getting away from what the point of why I wanted to read this. There's some cool runs there with him tying in with the X-Men. And then also you can tell that there's this tension between him and Aurora Storm. And, you know, they have this history that goes back together. And basically when he was leaving the kingdom to try to find himself, she was kind of running around Africa, stealing things to try to just live. And then they form this unlikely friendship that turns into love. And then he sees Claw, and Claw's the reason why they can't be together, because he realizes if Claw's out there running around and I haven't taken him out, like I haven't done the right thing by myself or the people of Wakanda, because he killed our king. And so that is the reason their relationship is torn apart. But there's that kind of storyline. And then we eventually get to Shuri becoming, you know, worthy after Doctor Doom takes down Black Panther. He's kind of taken out to a point where, you know, he's near death. He's like inches away from death. And they figure out that somebody has to stand up to become the king. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones in a way. That was like somebody has to be the king or the ruler. And they, you know, and then they end up choosing Shuri as like the right choice. And she goes in and she ends up talking to Bass, but Bass deems her as unworthy of becoming the Black Panther. Long story short, she detours this monster demon away from Wakanda selflessly with no powers, and that makes her worthy to become Black Panther. So there's that side of it too, and you get to see kind of some differences in motivation between why she wants to be Black Panther and why T'Challa wants to be Black Panther. So I could see some of that coming up in the movies. And also like how everybody feels about losing him and like not sure if he's not coming back. There's a lot of great story points there between the people of Wakanda and also like losing T'Challa. And then the other book we were reading was Original of the Fantastic Four with Namor. And it was really interesting. It was a tough read, I will say. It was like a 1969 run from, let me pull up the list here, but it was 147 and 140 to 149. I think I took it off because I read this and I put it on our list originally, and I'm like, I don't even think this is useful to any part of the movie other than you kind of get to see that it all centered around Namor and his love for Sue Storm and how in love he, but I don't know if that'll come into play in the movie that we're going to watch. But Namor above everything else, like he is for the Atlanteans. Like it's a really cool way in a sense that they brought these two worlds together in the comics, because they're both rulers that want the best for their people. And sometimes they sacrifice their own personal wants to give and service the people, you know, that they're supposed to serve the best they can. And they do it at their detriment and at sometimes like other people in the world's detriment, you know? And so they're kind of there's an understanding, I think, between T'Challa and Namor that is there, and it's deep and it makes sense, but it also like hurts them personally. They're not able to give themselves truly what they desire, or not all the time. And also it puts them in conflict with other people in the world when it shouldn't. So yeah, it's, you know, I mean, I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I'm super pumped for the movie, but I'm also like in a way saddened that we won't get to see Chadwick Boseman play off of Namor as well. And seeing like these rival kings, and
that would have been amazing, right?
Yeah. So I think that would have been really, really incredible. I'm curious to see where they take it with this movie, but There was some really great stories in there with Reginald Hudlin. Yes. And again, I can't find the name of that author. I'll put it in the show notes, but it was good. It's definitely gotten me ready for more Wakanda lore, and just like this idea of if Wakanda and Africa didn't become so colonized and conquered, what could it and would it have become? And that's the idea of Wakanda that we get in the comics, is that if it wasn't taken over and ruled and these people weren't oppressed, like what would have happened? Well, it could have possibly become the most technologically advanced country in the world. And then you tie that in with, this super rare resource that they have exclusive rights to. And maybe it's a metaphor for diamonds or other minerals or resources in the world that actually are blood dry, blood diamonds or whatever from Africa. But it's a really cool world that they built for Wakanda, and I'm excited to see it again on the big screen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, you read a lot of cool stuff, man.
Yeah. That's lots of reading. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it was just it was interesting, and I just wanted to be prepared for it. Some other things that I haven't gotten to, but I want to before the movie, which is Avengers vs. X-Men with Brian Michael Bendis. Matt Fraction is a part of that run too, and Jason Aaron and Ed Brubaker was a part of it too. So a bunch of heavy hitters, along with New Avengers Volume 3, issue number 7 by Jonathan Hickman. I heard is a good one to read, which is Shuri's retaliation against Namor, and then from there, we get to see Namor come and then like retaliate against Wakanda, which it looks like that inspiration is a heavily focused part in this movie, where Namor floods Wakanda. So, all good books, but I recommend reading some of this stuff. They do differ from the movie, so if you're expecting it to be exactly like the movie, it's not gonna be. But you can see a lot of the inspiration that they use for the characters from the movie from the books, and these stories came from those books. So, yeah, really, really cool stuff. That's kind of all I got to say about that. I don't know what the next thing we're going to be reading is, but we'll figure it out. Probably post it online, and let me know if there's something you guys want to read in preparation. I'd be stoked to hear that. But with that being said, Scott, do you have any final words for the night?
I think we covered a lot of cool stuff. It was a heavy episode, but I'm looking forward to continuing all the awesome shows that we are watching. I feel like each show we're watching is like right in the thick of it, and I'm loving it. Continue doing that. But thank you for all the listeners and everyone who tunes in every week. Super appreciate you.
Yeah, and follow Scott on Twitter if you're not. Yeah, he's he's focused on there too. We will also put his handle on the show notes. Drake, what about you?
I second what Scott is saying. Like, I'll definitely continue to watch these shows. I'll continue to watch what's coming up for the holiday season. There's going to be tons of good things to kind of keep our eyes and ears and minds kind of salivated. And thanks for sticking around.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around, and thank you for sticking us. I just repeated what Drake said. Bye.
Okay, bye.
The Joystick Show.
If you like what you hear, please like, follow, and subscribe. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us on Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at JoyStickShow, Joystick Show. Or if you feel like submitting topics or asking questions to be discussed on further episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. Peace out and make it a great rest of your week.